every stamba is usually a Simhapada stamba, which is like shaped like a lion. So that's kind of becomes a signature of this thing. And in the 4 cardinal directions alone, if you can see here, I know it's out of focus, but still, the 4 cardinal directions alone, you will have these kutakara conical type of shikaras. The cardinal direction alone, you will have a shala or an oblongated. So that makes it a Sarbato Bhadra structure, technically speaking.
Right.
Yeah. So here there is Lakshmi who's there. But yeah, going on. Yeah. The sculptures are just. I don't even have an adjectives for the sculptures of Kanchipuram because this is marvelous. Like for example, this is Shiva, doing this Tripurantaka. So he's going on the chariot, he's climbing on the chariot, and Brahma is here who is about to drive the chariot. But the story, as far as it goes, it's like every deva who is helping out Shiva in this act become very proud that they are achieving this feat along with Shiva and all of that. Shiva, in order to break that, he broke the chariot, and he takes Vishnu as the arrow. So he's called in Tamil, he's called as Mal Amban. Ambu is arrow and Mal is Vishnu. So Vishnu becomes the arrow and all of that. But then Shiva decides not to use that, and he just smiles. And that smile actually kills the Tripura Asuras. So that smile is just so enigmatically captured here.
Right. Yeah.
And then of Devi, the images are just wonderful. I mean, there are so many poses of Devi, not only of Shiva, like this, like riding on the lion, and she is seated somewhere just adoring a parrot with Kataka and all of that. There's just so many images of Devis that are there, and Bhairavis, and there is also Jeshta who's there. And then you have non-divinities also, like this lady who is a Chamara bearer, and all of that.
Pratik, actually, there is the crown in Pallava temples. I find very interesting. So if you notice, so there is the crown. Let's say the diameter of the crown is smaller than the head often in many of these Pallava temples, right? So you also see that in Southeast Asian temples, especially the Khmer temples and stuff. So as you were saying, there is this sort of overlap in the culture, right? So I think that's one of the first striking features for me. The connection, it's best articulated in the crowns. I feel.
Yeah, in terms of art as well as inscriptions. I mean, older inscriptions of Southeast Asian countries. If we know Pallava Grantha, we can go and read it like as if it is the Hindu or Indian Express. It's that easy because it's the same thing that they've used. I mean, today's Khmer evolved from Pallava Grantha. So there's this huge connection with Southeast Asian art and culture. That's true. So I mean, elephants, lions, all become very, very prominent. And I mean, one thing that you notice is because I don't know why that is, because either because they have these Narasimhas and Rajasimhas. Is that why they've put so many Simhas there? I don't know. But then the Simhas are just protruding from every Kudya Stamba that is there. So each and every Kudya Stamba, if you see, the pilaster will have a Simha that is pouncing on you, and they're so very beautiful, and they have bells tied to their ankles and all of that. They're just so very beautiful.
And this is you find this just like this in the National Museum also. This one. This is the big.
Yeah. This is the Bhikshatana panel. One more Bhikshatana panel is there in the National Museum. I just happened to see the photo sometime back, but I think that must be of a little earlier period, I guess.
Could be, yeah. It's almost exact same, like the same thing. This person touching the feet.
So posture is the same. Yes. So I mean, the architecture is just fascinating because the projections that it takes and all of that, and the Stamba Lakshanas are also very beautiful. I mean, the decorations you see, there are a lot of Muktasharas that are here, the pearl necklaces, and then the Ratnapatta or the Madhyabandha where the Malasthana is there, and then it goes on to a Indrakanta pillar, which is a 16-sided pillar. The Indrakanta pillars, this is called the Lashuna because it looks like a garlic. And then there is a Kantha, and then the Amalaka, which is 8-sided. The Amalaka is 8-sided, while the pillar is 16-sided. So this is an Amalaka, and then it goes on to become a Mandi, and the Mandi is, if you compare this is the Mandi. So if you compare the Mandi with Mahabalipuram, there is just a 4-sided Mandi or a round Mandi there, and here it becomes a very beautiful eight-sided mandi that goes across, and then there is the phalaka and the potika comes across. So the elements are very, very detailed and very aesthetic in nature. So we'll come to this panel. Probably we'll look at some other panel from Pattadakal before we come to this. So I'm going back. One more thing I wanted to say, when you look at the plan, I'll just finish with this and then we'll come to Pattadakal's panels. When you look at the plan, one thing that we observe is that Professor Shankar Narayanan made this observation. Sorry. Yeah. So the sculptures that are there to this side of the Vimana, up to this Shala, here, this side of the Vimana, they're all mostly Samhara Murtis. So there is Narasimha who is subduing Hiranya, there is Shiva who is killing somebody, Jalandhara Samhara. So all of the Murtis that are here are Samhara Murtis, and from here it all becomes Anugraha Murtis. So either, so Kalyana Sundara or any other Saumya Murti that is there is kept this side of the Vimana, and this side is all Samhara Murti. That was a very, very interesting observation that I found. So that I wanted to share. And some of the panels are just, they depict some things that are not depicted anywhere else, I think. One panel, for example, where, Shiva's spirit fell into a lake, and where an Asura called Jalandhara was born, because from the Jala he was born, he was called Jalandhara. And then he was later killed by Shiva using the chakra. So he sends the chakra down and it kills Jalandhara. So Jalandhara, Janana...
I have a doubt here. But Jalandhara is also depicted with that trident poking upwards, like, this sort of oblique poking. There's also called Jalandhara Vada, I think.
No, that is Kala Samhara.
Okay.
This is Jalandhara Vada is when Shiva is seated cross-legged and he leaves that chakra to go and kill Jalandhara, and that chakra is what is given by Shiva to Vishnu, and then he becomes Chakradhana Murti. So that Jalandhara's, both Jalandhara's Janana and Jalandhara's Samhara are depicted here, and even Jalandhara Samhara probably somewhere it is depicted, but Jalandhara Janana, where actually what the panel, what happens is Indra goes to Kailasha, and where Shiva decides to play with Indra, and he comes in the form of a small Gana, and that Gana is not allowing Indra to go inside. Indra gets angry and he's ready to attack the Gana with his Shaktya Yudha, and that is when Brahma and other Devatas come, and they realize that the Gana is not Gana but it is Shiva himself, and they stop Indra from attacking. And but then Shiva has already opened his third eye, but then Indra asks for apology, and that Shakti is transferred to a lake, and from there Jalandhara is born. So these kind of Puranic epics are just found nowhere else other than Kailashanatha, and the panels need a separate study. It is very unfortunate that we don't have a proper detailed book on Kailashanatha other than a very few papers and one small book by Padma Bhushan Nagaswamy, Dr. Nagaswamy, that was done long back, and that also it's like a guidebook, not a very detailed book. Of course, he has done a good amount of work there, but in terms of a book, it's not that detailed. Yeah, so go ahead.
One step back. Yeah, sure. From here, this works. So if you can, so I think as I said, there are some differences between Kailasanathar layout and Virupaksha layout. Similarly, even in the sculptures also. So I think the sculptures are much smaller in Virupaksha, and the depth is also very little. So they're more like drawings compared to Kanchi, at least. The Kanchi, they're very much life size, very much rounded, thick kind of images. They're sculptures. But in Virupaksha, they seem much more like reliefs. They are much more like panels rather than sculptures in themselves. And so I put this slide together to show the creeper feature of the Adhisthana. So here in the Adhisthana you find, and there on the panels on the near the panels of sculptures, these creepers become much more prominent. They become they're exploding. You can see it here. So here this is an image of Bhava, and above the Linga Bhava you can see the creeper starting from this small node, and it's taking it's going up, and then again like a wave, it's coming down, and then it explodes towards the side. It's just flowing out of that base, that the,
Chitra Torana.
that plate, right, out of the pilaster. And and if you, I don't know if you can notice from here, from that point above the pilaster, there are two warrior figures, you know, who are holding up the entire vimana itself, right? So that is, so this is like a very very beautiful kind of, you know, creeper feature. And this creeper, I think it stretches throughout the temple, so that is actually very I find that very attractive. And the other thing you can notice in the adhisthana itself is the gavaksha, which is that small horseshoe shape kind of a, it's like a cave, it looks like. So from that gavaksha, you find an image of a yaksha peeping out, and that again is another motif that keeps repeating throughout the temple. So I think in the later sculptures, later panels, you can actually notice the gavaksha more prominently. Yeah,
The Adhisthana of Virupaksha, as I see here, it is a Kapotabadha Adhisthana. Whereas the Adhisthana of Kailashanatha is a plain Padabadha Adhisthana. But in that Padabadha Adhisthana also we find these creepers being there in the same place, in the same, this is Tripatta Kumuda. In the same Tripatta Kumuda we find the scrolls also being there, but it definitely is not as detailed as this. It does not contain animals and all of that. It just contains creepers. The Toranas, as far as Kailashanatha is concerned, have similar Chitra Toranas, and it is a Makara Torana in Kailashanatha. It's not just creepers, it has Makaras. And these fellows who are here, who are holding up the Vimana, they become Makara riders with a knife in their hand, a sword in their hand.
And here I forgot to mention this, but above the on the Torana you also find the Lakshmi in this.
Lakshmi, right, right, Lalata Lakshmi.
Yeah.
There you usually find a Simha Lalata, a lioness placed there.
Right, yeah.
And the proto form of that detailed niche is there in Mamallapuram, the Trimurti cave above the Durga. Wonderful Chitra Torana with a Simha Lalata, 4 Makaras, 2 riders, all of that. That's one of the most beautiful Toranas that I have ever come across.
Right. Again, so this is an image of, if you can see, it's an image of Ravana and Jatayu on the left, right? And as I was saying, so here you find on the top of that image, you find this model of a Shala kind of a Vimana, small one. And on to the right, you find again this beautiful creeper, exactly the Torana, kind of Torana we saw previously. But here there's a Trivikrama image, and
here Makara comes in. Beautiful.
Yeah. I think when you were saying Makara, I realized that I think even the previous one there's this, but they're much more smaller than the ones you find. I think the Makara is much less prominent. I think the focus is more on the Torana itself, the creepers. Rather than Lakshmi also, it's not as prominent as the creepers are much more prominent in both of the cases. Right? And again back to this sculpture. If you can see, it's much more smaller. It's much smaller than the Kailasanathar images. But there are details that there are very very fine details. For example, this image of that Vamana near the foot, near the ankle of Trivikrama. You can see it is so beautiful. The Vamana and the other gods, other rishis and gods around him. Again, that's very beautiful. And one more, even near the Vimana also you find Gavakshas here. If you can see, there are 2 Gavakshas on the Vimana, on the base of the Vimana. Yeah,
okay. That is there in here also. I mean, any Kapota, it is said that it is to be Alankaram should be through Nasikas. So these Nasikas you have, or Kudus as we call it, it's there everywhere. So it's there in Kailashanatha also.
Right.
And the Valabhi has Ganas, beautiful Ganas. This Valabhi or the inside of the cornice has Ganas.
I was going to say, so almost all the pillars, all the ceilings are held by Ganas in, as far as I see, as far as I can remember in Pattadakal.
Even in Kailashanatha, Ganas are introduced in Mamallapuram itself, where the early Mamallapuram caves have, in the Valabhi portion, they have Hamsas. So and then the Hamsamala transforms into Ganamala, and they start doing the darnest of things that they can. One pulls the other's ear, one kicks the other, one does a underbalti, one does whatever. And so a lot of humor is introduced there.
Right.
Yeah, and in Kailashanatha, there in the Adhisthana, if you see here in this portion
Yeah.
or the Jagati portion, here that
Yeah.
in Kailashanatha is not left empty. I will go out of this and probably I'll show you. But yeah, that portion is not left empty. Instead, there you have dancing ganas that are portrayed
Right.
in Kailashanatha. So yeah, we'll look at that. If you have something more to share, you go ahead. Is the screen visible though?
Sorry.
Is the screen still visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to talk about something? Though?
Yeah. I think there are 2 more slides with the sculptures. Let's finish that and then we can.
Sure. This one. Yeah.
It's not in slideshow mode though.
Yeah. Just give me a minute. Talk. I'll get back to slideshow mode.
Right. So this is a pillar that is near the entrance of the Mukha Mandapa, and it has an image of a fighting warriors. And again, to the right is again there are some more panels you can see. So there is an image of Varaha. So as I was saying, I think in the Mallikarjuna temple there's an unfinished sculpture exactly that looks like this. And yeah,
Yeah. Go on.
no, it's not in slides, so it's not clear
Sorry.
enough. Right. Right, and then I think this is and then to the right most is Harihara. Actually, here above Harihara, you can see very clearly the Makara.
Yeah.
You know, there it's much more clearer, right? And Prateek, what do you think about windows? So, do you find?
I was just about to say that the Jalakas or windows, we don't find any Jalakas in Kailashanatha.
Right.
It's a closed this thing. But then here the Jalakas are so beautiful in Pattadakal. There
Right.
are no Jalakas in Kailashanatha.
Yeah. So I think I think that's one feature that's here. And yeah, next slide, please. So again, this is one of the guardian deities who guards Virupaksha temple near the Mukhamandapa itself. And here, this is Ravana. It's an image of Ravana. And actually, we find almost an exact image in Ellora, in the Kailasa temple of Ellora. And many scholars say that just as Virupaksha is inspired from Kailasanatha temple, the Kailasa temple is inspired from Virupaksha temple. That is what some scholars claim. And I feel that when I went there, I felt that this, if it is true that Virupaksha is clearly is inspired from Kailasanatha, this image of Ravana can almost be considered metaphor for this exercise of Virupaksha, right? Because what is this? This is Ravana holding up Kailasanatha, who is the Shiva as the Natha of Kailasa, because he's holding up Kailasa. I mean, ultimately Ravana gets humbled, but in this image, this is very triumphant. It's a triumphant image, right? This is not an image of failure, because if it was a failure, they wouldn't inscribe him as a hero on a pillar. So this is still a triumphant image. So I think this image I find very, very interesting. And as you can see, there are you can see other ganas, you can see other people playing instruments and all of that on Kailasa itself. This is one of the most beautiful sculptures as far as I see. I mean, I think the largest and most beautiful are on the pillars which guard the Mukha Mandapa and Nandi Mandapa. Yeah, next.
And the anatomy also. I mean, he is 10-headed, so he's actually looking that side. But then there is a face that faces us.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So this is not actually the front, if you can see. One, it's actually the back. It's actually his. It's actually. And yeah, next slide. I think that's the last I have about sculptures. So this is one thing I noticed. So I think this is probably the clearest instance of similarity or some kind of inspiration for that inspiration from Kailasanatha. It's almost, as you can see, it's almost an exact image, except you can actually see the differences between the styles, right? So Kailasanatha, the same Shiva, he's much more heavier, much more larger, but this is a far more humble, far more modest kind of an image, but it's very, very similar at the same time. It's almost the same image, right? Yeah, what do you think about this?
Definitely. I mean, yes, there is more ornamentation to the Chalukya image. I think with all the the necklace having pearls and all of that. But all of that is lacking in Kailasanatha. But somehow the Kailasanatha image, Pallava image, is more. You see the movement in Kailasanatha's image.
Right. Yeah.
Somewhat looks stoic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one more thing I've noticed is that I think the idea was that Pallava, the images in Kailasanatha would be much more lifelike. So each of them can independently be some sort of it can be a Mulavar, right? So if you look at the plinth of the Shiva, it looks like the plinth of a linga itself. But here it's much not prominent at all in the Pattadakal one.
Yeah. And one more thing in Pattadakal, if you notice, the artist has chosen to break the frame and put two hands of Shiva holding a Shula and a Rishabhadwaja to both sides of the frame. He has broken the frame and brought the two hands outside, holding the Trishula is held literally outside the frame.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So I mean that's what they're not even like even niches are much less deep. They're very slender, even niches themselves. So which is, I mean, otherwise if the niche was as thick as Kailasanatha, that would not have been possible at all, right?
Correct. So yeah, I'll talk about one Bhikshatana, one of my favorite panels. Yeah, so the legend goes this way: the rishis were performing yajnas, and the rishi patnis started developing this whole pride that they're very loyal to their husbands, and they they're helpful during the dharma and all of that. But then Shiva decided to break their pride. They should do their duties without having that pride. So he becomes this master seducer. He becomes this beautiful man, and with very less clothing. I mean, his back is just literally visible to all of us. With such beauty, he goes on with his Bhiksha Patra, and he goes on to beg on the streets of these Rishi Patnis. And looking at a beggar who's coming inside, their dharma was to give food, so the Rishi Patnis decide to come out and offer their food. And that's when just stylistically he is doing his hair and all of that. That's something that's really beautiful. Notice his sandals that he's wearing, chappals that he's wearing, and the movement, the stylistic movement with which he is walking, and he holds the stick and he puts his hand over the stick so stylistically. And the Rishi Patnis just lose themselves to his beauty, and he seduces them, and then is when they realize that they're not all that worth of all the pride that they've had. They look at a beautiful man and then they lose their hearts. So, and then their pride is subdued that way. So that's the story. But yeah, I mean, it's just a close up, but it's just so beautiful. I mean, there's not much ornamentation. There is just a patra kundala, a yajnopavita, and some small vastra, and then the sandals. Nothing else he's wearing. But it's so lifelike, and the style that he does, and the vastra that just flows, and in stone you can see the frills of the vastra also. I think that is the realism of Pallavas, akin to probably 400 years after 300 years after Gupta's Pallavas, and then I think Indian art loses its realism little by little. When it comes to Vijayanagara, it just becomes a stoic image standing like this. So this Brahma and Vishnu to both sides are actually from another panel. I just put it up here, but they are from the Lingodbhava panel, because Brahma and Vishnu do that. So they are holding the Vismaya Hasta. So aha, they say. So yeah.